Welcome. Spend a few minutes to talk about charts and tables within Insight Maker. Once I create a simulation model, I usually want to see the implications of the interactions. So as I'm building the model, Insight Maker is in fact creating a definition of what needs to be charted, and it is in fact all of the variables that I define. The reason for that is that if I look at the configuration on this, you notice it says here add newly created primitives to data. That's the default on the initial chart that's created. It is in fact a time series chart and simply has a data display as a label and the time as the axis, which you can see the time is the axis, and the y-axis isn't labeled. And each one of the lines, you can mouse over the line and it will tell you the value of that line at that point. If you mouse over the items in the legend, it will highlight the lines for you in case one is on top of another. It makes it very easy to see one from another. And if there are 4 or more lines plotted, the legend ends up over here on the right hand side. Otherwise it's on the top, and you can in fact back this up and look at this at any point in time. When the simulation engine runs, it calculates all of the variable values and it stores them in memory so that if you change what it is that you want to look at, it doesn't have to run the simulation again to show you those values. So if this is what I'm looking at the moment and I decide that I want to add a new chart because I want to see the values, so that rather than, I can't spell or I can't type, so rather than looking at the time series I actually want to look at tabular data, and I say that I want to look at the bathtub and the gap and the what do I want? Well, let's start with that. I just want to look. So what it shows me is for each step, it shows me the value of the bathtub and the gap. Now notice that it didn't have to go back and recalculate this. The values were in fact already there, and if I wanted to change the configuration and add another piece of data such as the value for the faucet, I can in fact go ahead and add that, and then all of those values will also be there without having to regenerate the simulation. So as I said, the default for the first graph is a chart, and all of the variables are added to it. To add additional charts, if you have things that are scaled differently, you can add additional charts to put values on additional displays. You can also take an existing display and use a secondary axis, and you can say that on the secondary axis I want to see the gap, and go ahead and take the gap off of this display and then go ahead and display that, so that notice now that the gap is over here on this display, the rest are on this scale, the rest of them are on this scale, and you can simply change those things on the fly. The other type of chart that you can add is you can tell it that you want to create a scatter plot which plots the two different variables. So if I plot the bathtub and the gap, plot those, when the bathtub is empty the gap is at 50, the difference between them, and when the bathtub is full the gap is 0. So this makes sense in terms of a scatter plot for the comparison of those two variables. So the chart function is not extremely complicated, or it shouldn't be, and you can apply labels to things and take things out of the display simply by clicking them and taking them out, and then when you display it, it only shows the things that are left. So it's easy. And now notice I said that now there are only 3 items, so it puts the scale across the top. And in terms of the configuration, not the configuration, but in terms of charts, you can download the chart, which means it will export you a .ping file simply called chart, and for a table it will export a CVS file, so that you can export the values out of the simulation if you want to use them some other place. So that's about all there is about charts and tables. Configure them as you need to depict the implications of the interactions. You don't have to worry about which variables you want to look. It's not critical because you can change what it is that you want to look at on the fly, and it will instantly demonstrate or display that to you without having to run the simulation again to get the value of those variables to display. So hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.